Doctor. All right. Thank you for joining us today. As you can see, we have a special guest, Dr. Russell Jaffe, owner, founder, and creator of Perk Integrative Health. And for those of you that are new to the show, Perk Integrative Health is the beautiful marriage of Perk Nutraceuticals and ELISA Act Biotechnologies, home of the LRA by ELISA Act test. My name is Melissa Crispell, and I'm here to guide you through this information and inspiration session with Dr. Jaffe. Thank you, Dr. Jaffe, for being with us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Dr. Jaffe, these are the questions from our customers and from their patients and clients, and we're so happy to have you here today to help us debunk some myths and give us some more information and inspiration. Our first question is, I'm always tired. Why is this, and what can I do to change it?
Well, what an important question. Something over 2/3 of people who see doctors regularly tell that they are tired, fatigued, or chronically fatigued. And to me, it is important to distinguish whether you're tired because of your work, the work intensity. And I don't mean the physical intensity, I mean the physical mental intensity of your work. Mohandas Gandhi often said that he would work until he was so tired that he would fall into bed and fall asleep. Because otherwise, all sorts of afflictive and distracting thoughts would come to him. So there is a difference between being tired and being fatigued. Fatigue, to me, as a clinician and a researcher, means that you're running out of, or marginal, or just deficient in essential nutrients, protective antioxidants, buffering minerals, cofactors, essential amino acids, essential fatty acids. And by the way, in the 21st century, a lot of people do not know, but they are deficient in omega-3 essential fats like EPA and DHA, which we offer in a micellized soft gel for convenience, for stability. And of course, ours are done under nitrogen to protect the delicate polyunsaturated fats. The PUFA qualities of the EPA and DHA are part of what we benefit from, unless it's damaged with oxygen. And so we make sure that we use only the better forms of all the nutrients, and then we enhance their uptake and generally chaperone their delivery to the cells that are hungry for them. Now, what about chronic fatigue? Chronic fatigue means your get up and go, got up and went, and you can't find it. It means when you get up in the morning and throughout the day, you are fatigable, you're on the edge of fatigue all the time, you barely have any respite from fatigue, and it's called CFIDS, chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome, CFIDS. That's been studied at NIH for many decades. It's actually very challenging because there are so many different types of it that there's no single test that defines chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome. But we do know that these people have too much repair deficit known as inflammation. They have broken tolerance in their immune defense and repair system. So they're doing too much defense work, too much delayed allergy provocation of their B cells and their T cells, too much harmful antibody, too much immune reaction without antibody, known as the T cell reactions, TH1, TH2 for the technical people. So if you have chronic fatigue, then I suggest you do the 8 predictive biomarkers, one of which is the lymphocyte response assay. And this gives us detailed information about your metabolome, digestion, microbiome, as well as some global information. And we may want to add, in many cases, especially in the chronic fatigue category, salivary testing of hormones. And I mean detailed mapping of stress hormones, male and female hormones and their precursors, which can be done in spit in saliva. Now, when we work with someone who has the results of this test and is going to modify what they eat and drink, what they think and do, who's going to let nature, nurture, and wholeness guide their priorities and decisions, and we're asking in general for about 5% of a person's day. That's a little more than an hour. And in that time, you can do a makeover of your habits one at a time so that chronic fatigue becomes a memory and not a burden. So that if you're fatigued, you get restorative sleep. And restorative sleep has a very simple definition. In the morning, when you get out of bed, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and eager for the day. Now, it turns out, and this is interesting, I think, it's the first 2 or 3 sleep cycles. And a sleep cycle is about an hour and a half. So it's the first 4.5 hours of sleep that give your body the most repair, information, and stimulus. And what I mean by that is the pituitary hormones, including growth hormone, which tells the immune system to go and look for abnormal cells and identify them and eliminate them. But what if, because of a lack of antioxidants or a lack of magnesium or a lack of essential fats, the growth hormone isn't being produced and stored in the pituitary and released in pulses? It turns out that growth hormone is so powerful that the body restricts the release to about 5 minutes at the end of each of the first 2 or 3 sleep cycles. Now, this work was done in the 1960s and 70s when I was a student, early in my medical professional career. And I'm glad to tell you that I have followed and applied that work in our alkaline way of living, in our way of surviving the 21st century and learning how to thrive in the 21st century, so that if we're tired, we can learn to pace ourselves and do things that add meaning to moments and moments to life. If we're fatigued or chronically fatigued, we can engage with a health coach and or a professional who understands this approach to physiology before pharmacology, who understands that it is about what we eat and drink, but also about what we think and eat. That it's important to know if you're well hydrated. And we have self-assessments to help people know if they're well hydrated, if their transit time is healthy, to know if their morning urine pH suggests that they need more magnesium and choline citrate together, and how to do a C cleanse to determine how much oxidative burden, how much harm burden are you under by knowing how much antioxidant, ascorbate, and ascorbate is the mother antioxidant that regenerates all the other ones, from vitamin E and selenomethionine to glutathione to taurine to lipoic acid to FAD and NAD and NADPH. All of these are benefited when you have enough ascorbate, and we have developed the C cleanse that's been used for decades by thousands of people to determine how much antioxidant you need to deal with your oxidative burden. And in the 21st century, it's our birthright to have lots more toxins exposed to us daily. In fact, we're marinating in a sea of these toxins, and therefore the amounts of protective nutrients we need have gone up dramatically and will continue to stay high as long as we have, until we clean up the environment. And as a footnote, much of the exposure that we have as individuals is recent. So if, for example, you take your shoes off and you have what we call outdoor clothes and then indoor clothes, if you just have a little space where you take your shoes off and change your clothes, you can dramatically reduce how much toxin you bring into your home. And inside your home, much of what's there is dander from people or pets and or dust that comes in that mold and other things love to live on if the humidity is too high or if there's any moisture behind the walls. So it is a challenging time. On a separate note, in regard to whether you're tired, fatigued, or chronically fatigued, we have PERK Sleep Guard. This is tryptophan enhanced uptake and then chaperone delivery to the nerve cells that convert the tryptophan safely into serotonin, then to acetylserotonin, and then melatonin. And serotonin is a very important neurochemical. Melatonin is also, but melatonin is a powerful antioxidant, and the body doesn't flood itself with melatonin. It actually restricts melatonin production and use to very rapid environments deep in the brain, like the pineal, mistress to the master gland, places where the melatonin is needed. It's produced from tryptophan through the serotonin pathway. And we also have PERK Mood Guard, 3 amino acids that help calm and soothe the neurohormonal aspects of the body. So we recommend the C cleanse to manage your oxidative burden, the excital neurotoxins, the harm molecules of the 21st century. And we recommend simple things like stretching. In my case, I stretch for 5 minutes as I'm falling asleep, 5 minutes before I get out of bed, and while I'm in the shower, I do another kind of stretching. So I combine health-promoting self-care to compress it into about an hour, hour and a half a day for me. And fortunately for me, I can do what's called forest bathing, which means you go out and you just amble under a green canopy in a forest. I happen to live in a forest, and I can tell you that it is an unconditional delight. In Yiddish, we call that a machaya, to just amble. I don't walk purposefully, but I walk so that I get my 8,000 to 10,000 steps in a day, as much as possible under a green canopy. And if I was indoors, I'd be under a green dichromatic light. So there's much we can do to help people who are tired or fatigued or chronically fatigued to feel and function better. But first, we have to understand exactly what's going on with them and then provide a personalized program to restore, rehabilitate, and renew. That's the privilege we've had over the decades, and glad to offer that to anyone who is feeling tired, fatigued, or chronically fatigued.
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe.